Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast, Episode 85.
Welcome to the Out of Order Podcast, your window into the firearms community, exploring those shaping the future of our rights and protecting our lifestyle, laws, legal cases, activism, and self-defense in a candid and honest podcast for our brothers and sisters in arms. Here's your host, James Kalita.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 85 of the Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast. Today's sponsor is giftforgunnuts.com. Giftforgunnuts.com, where you can get great gift ideas for the firearms and hunting enthusiast on your holiday shopping list. Head over to giftforgunnuts.com and you'll find daily updates on different hunting, shooting, and somewhat related gift ideas. Today's guest is Kevin Jamison. He is from the Western Missouri Shooters Alliance and also a firearms attorney. And now, here's Kevin.
Kevin Jamison, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
So, Kevin, you're the president of the Western Missouri Shooters Alliance. Would you tell us a little about that organization?
Well, we're a grassroots advocacy organization to promote the rights of gun owners, and we do so by advocacy in the legislature. We do encourage our people to contact their federal representatives, of course, but we do locally what the NRA will do on a national basis. And of course, we try to work. We do work with other grassroots organizations here in Missouri.
And what's the political climate like there in Missouri? Is it mostly pro-gun? Is there a constant threat?
Well, we're always on a constant threat. The Missouri legislature likes to say that it's pro-gun. But that mostly means that they don't entertain a great many anti-gun bills. While we typically hear rumors of so and so has filed a bill to ban this, that, or the other thing, or restrict something. Typically, these are bills filed which never get even a committee hearing, and they're typically of no threat. And the legislator files them just to tell the usual suspects that he's tried. They're not typically a real threat to us. Once in a while, we'll get poorly worded legislation that is terrible for us, and we've been successful over the last 29 years in knocking these things down. The only bad thing that has gone through is the Roving Gun-Free School Act, which, if you look at the bold wording of the language, is if you pass a school bus on your way to work and you have a gun in the car, you just violated the law. And the legislators said, well, that's not what we intended, but that nobody's gotten arrested for it, but it's something that we try to get reworded, and that's the flip side of it. While they don't typically pass anti-gun bills, we have to work hard to get pro-gun bills passed, and that has been harder to do. We've tried to get bills passed to allow concealed carry on college campuses, and of course the usual suspects throw their hands up in horror at the concept of people defending themselves on college campuses. We've done some litigation, not a great deal. We've and not in recent years. It just hasn't been necessary. in recent years. We've got an overwhelming, as they call themselves, a pro-gun majority in the legislature. So preventing bad things doesn't require litigation as much as it used to, but getting a good thing done is a problem, because there's 10,000 ways for a bill to fail, but only one way for it to succeed. And the only way to succeed is to bring in a whole bunch of people to tell the legislators that we want this thing. And getting people to take time off in the middle of the week to go down to the legislature, and which is when they're in session, and tell them this is, of course, difficult because our people have jobs.
So what's the secret then to keeping the anti-gun bills out? I mean, a lot of states have tried. Is there a secret to your success?
Well, we've had anti-gun bills that we had to fight before, but we advocated for good people in the legislature, and those successes in getting the right representatives have prevented the bad bills from getting any traction. This is an ongoing problem, of course. And some of the usual suspects get some public attention by saying that they've introduced a bill to do this, that, or the other thing. It just means getting out and working for good people and working against the bad people.
And a lot of people are predicting a blue wave for the upcoming election. Are you guys concerned at all? Any elections that seem like they'll be close?
We're always concerned. While not a lot of the representative seats seem to be in danger, at least in our area, the Senate seat for the state, the Hawley-McCaskill fight is something of great concern to us, because we need to have a good person in the legislature. And while Senator McCaskill keeps telling us that she's a good person, and she supports the Second Amendment, but we all remember the ad she did in 1992 in the election season, where she said that anybody can go in. A 12-year-old could walk into a gun shop, buy an AK-47, and no questions asked. And nobody ever called her on this except our people. We know, even in 1992, that's just bizarro, mind-bogglingly stupid statement. But that plays when she gets to the Senate. That's the kind of attitude she votes. It is regrettable, and because we have a lot of blue dog Democrats, we call them blue dog Democrats in the legislature, who are conservatives, and we support them because they are pro-gun. But at the national level, the National Party is insane. It seems that if they vote, if we get a Democratic majority in Congress, every day is going to be like the Kavanaugh hearings, where people are saying just bizarro, stupid things and posturing for the cameras and yelling impeachment. We're going to have a continuation of this Congress that investigates everything, whether there's any evidence or not, but does nothing.
Right. That is definitely a concern for all of us. So Missouri has some, as I'm reading about the laws there, some very friendly laws for gun owners.
Yes.
And you guys are working on concealed carry on college campus? Anything else you guys are working on?
Well, that has been a perennial issue for us, and the opposition, of course, has thrown up the idea of drunken college students doing terrible things, which while that happens, the average college student is not the Animal House character that they like to portray. Unfortunately, the universities have a very strong lobby in the legislature, and they're opposed to allowing students to protect themselves. They buy into this blood in the streets, where every time we try to reform a law, the usual suspects say they want to. It's going to result in blood in the streets. Now, once it happens, we never see blood in the streets, but they keep making this claim, and people listen to it like they're reliable sources or reliable predictors of what's likely to go on. At this time, we're spending most of our time on getting the right people elected. We need to have the right people elected, or everything else is going to go away one way or the other. We try to reform some details of the concealed carry laws. They're to help with renewals of our license to carry. One county has been notorious for being late renewing licenses, and sometimes the renewal is far beyond the date the license expires. We've had some experience, some luck, of course, with getting stand your ground in Missouri, which is now the law in Missouri. It's a very simple thing, but people make up stories about what it really means, which serves to confuse people. And every time it comes up in the newspaper, they talk about George Zimmerman, who never once said anything about stand your ground. We've had the same law also allowed for permitless carry, or what you might call constitutional carry in Missouri, and we've had problems with that from the day one, which people swear up and down that it allows people convicted of adult abuse to have guns. And of course, it never doesn't say that anywhere in the bill. And I've defied people to show me where it says that. And of course, they changed the subject. One problem that we've had is when your gun gets seized for any reason, you use it in self-defense, it's seized as evidence. And even if charges are not filed, it's evidence, and it's kept in the police property room. Missouri law says at 571.095 that at the end of a proceeding, guns shall, and it says shall, be returned to the lawful owner. And the lawful owner tries to get his gun back, and they say, well, first we have to do ballistics testing, which is not true. There is no such law. Or you have to prove that you own the gun. Well, who did you take it from? And just one mindless hoop right after another. The result being that if they don't knuckle, if a person's not persistent, and frankly, unless they hire a lawyer, they're not going to get their gun back. And that that's stupid. Hiring a lawyer to get your gun back costs more than the gun, and of course that's what they're counting on. So we're trying to get something passed to make some consequences for not returning a gun. And again, we haven't gotten that gotten that passed yet. One thing that we have done is to inform people that if the police won't return their guns, they can file a lawsuit in federal court and get the gun back, get actual damages, get punitive damages, meaning money, and they get punitive damages, meaning extra money. So this, costs $400 to file something in federal court, but at the end you'll get that money back. And hopefully we're going to educate some of these police departments about what the law is in the process. But I've got a number of cases on my desk now where people just arbitrarily been denied their firearms. Although I have gotten some success with writing the attorney for the police department and telling him, my client wants to get his gun back. I want to sue you under 42 U.S. Code Section 1983 for property damages. Which one of us gets his wish? And typically, in a couple of days, I get a call that he can come down and pick up his gun. Now that cuts down on my income, but the guy gets his gun back at low cost. And there have been some insane cases where there's an adult abuse case, and of course, when a person's arrested, and I say arrested for adult abuse, they take the person's guns away from him. But they typically take the victim's guns away as well, and which is ridiculous. And although they say, well, the gun's in the house, and by definition, then the abusive party has access to the gun. Well, the abusive party's in jail. He doesn't have access to anything. But that's the excuse they use. And I've had some cases that were fairly abusive, which we had to fight these out, to file the lawsuit. While we eventually get money back, it's stupid. It shouldn't have to happen. Because of some peculiar wording in the license to carry law, a person who's had a suspended imposition of sentence, which means in Missouri that you do not have a conviction, but because of the language of the license to carry statute, if you had a suspended imposition of sentence, you cannot get a license to carry. You can buy guns, you can own guns. In fact, you can carry guns under the permitless law. But to get a permit, which is better for a number of reasons, you're out of luck. In fact, I had a guy who had a pardon from the governor, a full and complete pardon, and he couldn't get a license to carry, and the Court of Appeals upheld this because of some dicta that the Supreme Court tossed off at one point, because he had pled guilty to a felony literally 50 years ago. These are stupid things, but we need to change just a word here and there so that you don't get these stupid results. Right. There's always something. There's always something. Our statute, license to carry statute, does not say that it's good for any weapon that you happen to carry. It indicates that it's good for any weapon, but it doesn't specifically say that. And there was one guy who was arrested because he had a concealed knife, and the judge wasn't convinced that the law covered knives. Didn't help that the knife was a switchblade, but that wasn't necessarily switchblades are not illegal in Missouri. So it's just one thing after another. We've got a case now in Westport, a party area, an area of entertainment in Kansas City, where they privatized the sidewalks, and you have to go through metal detectors to get into this part of the city. And of course, guns are on sidewalks, city sidewalks in Kansas City. Now I'm just waiting for a problem to come up with that. They say it's going to make Westport safer. I think they're out of their minds. But
I agree. That's got to be a violation of so many rights.
Well, it would seem to. But
yeah.
They do it because they think they can get away with it. They tell lies about the law as it exists. They keep talking about the need to pass a law in Missouri to prevent people if convicted of adult abuse from buying guns. Well, there's already a federal law, so why do we need to bother with a state law? But they just tell absolute flat-out lies, because people, if it wasn't for us, nobody would ever call them on these things.
Well, Kevin, I always ask my guests if there are any books that they recommend that all gun owners should read, either about politics or guns or liberty.
Well, I wrote Missouri Weapons and Self-Defense Law. Now it's 15 years old now, and I've got updates on it on my website. So if they read the book, they've got to check the website for changes. There's a DVD, Missouri Concealed Carry and Self-Defense Law, that I've also done, and these things will give them a good basis in the law. The Western Missouri Shooters Alliance has a website, and on that website we have a stay out of jail card, and the stay out of jail card summarizes Missouri's weapons and self-defense law. And if you had the actual card, and we give them away for free, it folds up, it fits in your pocket, and if you're in a self-defense case or situation, you can pull out the card, and the last 2 pages give you advice on an outline of what to say to 911 when you call, so that you don't wander off and say something that's going to hurt you, and that happens quite a bit, unfortunately. And the last page of it has advice to tell the first officer on the scene, so that all the evidence is policed up, and we can use that to defend you if somebody does something evil, if you're charged or if you're sued. And we were able to get a law passed in Missouri that said that you cannot be sued if you act in self-defense, and you cannot be criminally charged. So if somebody does try to sue you, and I had a client who was sued for this, you can countersue him for your attorney fees in defending his lawsuit. So that is useful. It takes away one thing that a lot of people are concerned about. There are many, many, many books on government. Our Larry Schwickert, who is on the board of Western Missouri Shooters Alliance, writes on government for our newsletter, and he was a police officer, and then he was a history and government teacher at the high school level. He's retired to teach criminal law at the university level. That's how Type A personalities retire. They get another job.
Right.
And he writes on these subjects for our newsletter. So if you read the newsletter, you're going to learn about what's going on in the world.
Great. Well, Kevin, I thank you so much for being on the show. I'll put links to those on the show notes page. Any parting words for our listeners?
Well, you go to wmsa.net, and you'll find out a lot of the information. If you go to my website, you'll see updates on the law.
Okay. I thank you so much for being on the show, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Anytime. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 85 of the Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast. Show notes page for today's episode is outoforderjameskalita.com/85. If you go to the show notes page, you'll find links to the websites we talked about on the show and also to our sponsors. You'll find links to giftforgunnuts.com, where you can find great gift ideas for the hunting and shooting sports enthusiast on your holiday shopping list, and you'll also find links to nagyourrep.com, where you can find a free guide on using social media tools to systematically, automatically remind your rep about how you feel about gun control. You'll also find links to sellmorefirearms.com, where we have a free guide for gun stores to using social media to increase their presence on the web. And, well, thanks for tuning in. Out of Order, James Kalita. We'll see you next time.